Back when I was younger, there was something about fighting through waves of the undead that just never got old for me. Maybe it's the chaos, the way everything can fall apart in an instant. Maybe it's the teamwork with the frantic callouts, the last second revives, and the shared struggle to survive. Or maybe it's just the sheer satisfaction of mowing down hordes of zombies with your friends. Whatever it is, cooperative zombie shooters have always been a personal favorite of mine, and a lot of other people as well. It all started with Left 4 Dead, the golden standard. A simple premise, 4 survivors, endless hordes, and the AI director throwing curveballs every step of the way. It wasn't just a shooter, it was an experience. The intensity, the panic of hearing a witch sobs, the last second rescues right as the safe room door slams shut, it was pure adrenaline. Then came Left 4 Dead 2, raising the stakes with melee weapons, more infected types, and modding support that kept the game alive for years after its release. Even as the genre evolved, spiritual successors tried to capture that magic. Killing Floor, World War Z, Vermintide, each bringing their own twist of cooperative survival. But nothing truly filled the void Left 4 Dead left behind. And then came Back 4 Blood. Marketed as the spiritual successor built by the very developers behind Left 4 Dead, a modernized co-op zombie shooter with deeper progression, more mechanics, and the chaotic team-based action fans have been craving for years. The hype was real. This was supposed to be the one, the next-gen Left 4 Dead. But when it finally launched, reality set in. Back 4 Blood wasn't the game fans had been waiting for. It was something else entirely. The card system, the rigid progression, the lack of the classic Left 4 Dead flow, it all felt a step in a different direction rather than a true evolution. It had its moments, but it never quite captured the magic that made Left 4 Dead legendary. Instead of redefining the genre, Back 4 Blood became a cautionary tale. A game that tried to follow in the footsteps of greatness, only to stumble under the weight of its own expectations. But how did we end up here in the first place? For that, we had to go all the way back to the beginning. But before we do, I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell for future notifications. But with that being said, let's get into the downfall of Back 4 Blood. TurtleRock Studios was founded in 2002 by Michael Booth. He was a game developer with experience at Westwood Studios, where he worked on classic strategy games like Command & Conquer, Red Alert 2. Booth wanted to create a small independent studio focused on multiplayer and cooperative gameplay, and thus, TurtleRock Studios was born in Lake Forest, California. The name Turtle Rock came from the local landmark in Orange County, a fitting symbol for the studio that would soon carve out its place in gaming history. From the beginning, TurtleRock aimed to push boundaries in multiplayer-focused experiences, and it didn't take long for them to get noticed by a major player in the industry, Valve. TurtleRock's early years were defined by their work on Valve's Counter-Strike franchise. They started by contributing to Counter-Strike Condition Zero, and later played a major role in developing Counter-Strike Source. TurtleRock developed the advanced bot system used in Counter-Strike Source, allowing for AI-controlled players that could simulate human-like tactics. This work laid the foundation for their expertise in dynamic AI systems, something that would later become a defining feature for Left 4 Dead. But before Left 4 Dead became a household name, the idea of a cooperative multiplayer shooter was still in its infancy. First-person shooters have thrived in both single-player and competitive multiplayer spaces, but few have successfully blended teamwork, horror, and high-intensity action. TurtleRock Studios had already built a strong relationship with Valve through their work on Counter-Strike Condition Zero and Source, but they had a new idea brewing, one that would define co-op gaming. Their concept was simple: 4 players fighting together to survive relentless waves of zombies, all while an AI control system ensured no 2 playthroughs were ever the same. It was an ambitious project, one that caught the attention of Valve, which eventually acquired TurtleRock in 2008. With Valve's backing, Left 4 Dead evolved into something truly special, specifically generated enemy spawns and an emphasis on teamwork. The defining innovation, the AI Director, a dynamic system that adjusted enemy spawns, item placement, and difficulty in real time based on player performance, ensuring every match felt different. When Left 4 Dead launched on November 17th in 2008, it was an instant hit. Critics and players alike praised its unique take on a zombie shooter genre. The game featured 4 survivors, Bill, Zoe, Francis, and Lewis, each with their own personalities but functionally in the same gameplay. But what made Left 4 Dead stand out was its perfect blend of chaos and strategy. Players had to work together, covering each other's backs and managing resources, while the game constantly threw surprises their way. There were no long weapon upgrade trees, no RPG elements, just pure unfiltered co-op action. Not only were there regular zombies, but there was also special infected too. Different types like the Boomer, Hunter, Smoker, Tank, and Witch gave variety, and it added an extra layer of difficulty whenever you played Left 4 Dead. On top of its stellar cooperative gameplay, Left 4 Dead introduced the Versus mode, allowing players to control the special infected in 4v4 multiplayer matches. This mode added endless replayability, turning a great game into an all-time classic. By the end of 2008, Left 4 Dead wasn't just a success, it was a phenomenon. Players were hooked, and Valve wasted no time in expanding on the formula. In an era where Valve was infamous for delaying projects, Half-Life 3, it shocked the gaming world by announcing Left 4 Dead 2 less than a year after the first game's release. Some fans were skeptical, fearing the sequel would make Left 4 Dead obsolete too quickly. Those fears were quickly put to rest when Left 4 Dead 2 launched on November 17th in 2009. Not only did it build upon the original, but it improved on nearly every aspect of the experience. Left 4 Dead 2 introduced a new cast, Coach, Ellis, Nick, and Rochelle, along with a fresh story that spawned the Deep South moving from Savannah to New Orleans. The game's campaign had a grittier, but a more colorful aesthetic, moving away from Left 4 Dead's bleak, urban environments. The sequel introduced melee weapons like baseball bats, crowbars, machetes, and even frying pans, adding a satisfying close-quarters combat element. The gunplay was also significantly improved, with more weapon variety and better handling. The game launched 5 full campaigns compared to the original 4 you got in Left 4 Dead, and introduced Scavenge Mode, a frantic, fast-paced game where survivors had to gather gas while infected tried to stop them. By the time Left 4 Dead 2 had received all its updates, including ports of Left 4 Dead 1 campaigns, new mutations, and extensive modding support, it became one of the greatest co-op shooters of all time. And over a decade later, Left 4 Dead 2 is still beloved by players worldwide. The game has remained relevant thanks to its modding community, which has introduced custom maps, new campaigns, and endless ways to keep the gameplay fresh. And despite its age, Left 4 Dead 2 continues to see spikes in player activity, proving its timeless appeal. The game's simplicity, unpredictability, and reliance on teamwork made it a gold standard for co-op gaming, one that many successors, including Back 4 Blood, had struggled to match. Even today, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 are frequently mentioned in discussions about the greatest multiplayer games ever made. They weren't just great zombie games, they were revolutions in cooperative gaming, setting a standard that no other game has truly surpassed, and that's why, over 15 years later, Left 4 Dead remains the king of co-op zombie shooters. At this point, TurtleRock seemed poised to be one of the biggest names in multiplayer gaming, but behind the scenes, things were changing. Valve had acquired the studio in 2008, only for TurtleRock to separate and re-establish itself as an independent company in 2011. Meanwhile, Valve kept the Left 4 Dead rights, leaving TurtleRock to start over from scratch. Their first major project as an independent studio was Evolve, a 4v1 multiplayer game where a team of hunters battle a player-controlled monster. It was an ambitious idea, but the launch was marred by an aggressive DLC model and balance issues. And despite a promising start, Evolve never caught on the way Left 4 Dead did, and its player base quickly dwindled. After the failure of Evolve, TurtleRock found itself at crossroads. Their name still carried weight, but they needed a comeback. Fans have been clamoring for years for a Left 4 Dead 3, but Valve was uninterested in making that sequel. The door was open for TurtleRock to reclaim their legacy. That's where Back 4 Blood came in. Announced in 2019, Back 4 Blood was immediately met with excitement. It was branded as a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. And TurtleRock, free from Valve but still carrying the DNA of the originals, promised to bring back the classic co-op zombie action with a modern twist. On paper, it had everything the fans wanted. 4-player co-op survival, special infected, an AI system to make everything run different, and the fast-paced teamwork-driven chaos from Left 4 Dead. But Back 4 Blood wasn't just Left 4 Dead 3 with a new coat of paint. TurtleRock introduced new mechanics, the most significant being the card system, which let players customize their runs with perks and modifiers. But it also introduced a layer of complexity that some felt clashed with the simple pick-up-and-play nature of Left 4 Dead. Still, the hype was undeniable. The beta saw strong player numbers, and the game was shaping up to be a worthy successor to Left 4 Dead. Fans had been starving for a true evolution, and they were about to get it. Or so they thought. When Back 4 Blood launched in October of 2021, it was met with solid but not spectacular reviews. Some praised its gameplay and challenge, but longtime Left 4 Dead fans quickly noticed key differences that made it feel off. First off, the card system and progression. What was meant to add variety instead made the game feel grindy and overly complicated. Instead of every run feeling spontaneous like in Left 4 Dead, players had to worry about building decks and unlocking cards. And it added an RPG-like layer that wasn't universally welcomed by most gamers. Also, they didn't have a traditional PvP versus mode, one of Left 4 Dead's most beloved modes where you can control the infected. Back 4 Blood opted for a more contained PvP mode that lacked the same thrill and replayability. And it was also too difficult and unbalanced. Many players felt the difficulty overwhelming even on normal settings, and I can fully agree because I had to replay it so many times and got frustrated because I kept getting stuck at the same spots. It got so bad that TurtleRock had to patch it with adjustments over time for over 6 months. And to most people like me who played Left 4 Dead before Back 4 Blood, it lacked that Left 4 Dead flow. It had a near-perfect pacing system that kept the action constantly engaging, but with Back 4 Blood with its focus on the card system and more structured progression, it lost some of that magic. And despite the issues, Back 4 Blood wasn't a total failure. It had a dedicated player base, and TurtleRock worked hard post-launch to improve balance and add content. But it was clear, this wasn't the Left 4 Dead 3 people have been waiting for. Unfortunately, by early 2023, the writing was on the wall. Despite selling well initially, Back 4 Blood struggled to maintain a long-term player base. In February 2023, TurtleRock announced that they were ending active development on the game. For many, Back 4 Blood was just high expectations meeting harsh realities. It wasn't a bad game, it just wasn't Left 4 Dead. And if you're gonna advertise it as a Left 4 Dead sequel, you have to keep the same formula and not go out of your way to fix it. It tried to evolve the formula in new directions, but in doing so, it lost what made Left 4 Dead timeless in the first place. And as for TurtleRock, their future remains uncertain. They still have talent, experience, and a legacy that carries weight, but whether they'll actually truly recapture the magic of Left 4 Dead in any other video game they produce is a question only time can answer. At the end of the day, Back 4 Blood was supposed to be the next great co-op zombie shooter. In some ways, it was. It modernized the genre, introduced new ideas, and provided moments of fun, but it proved that recapturing lightning in a bottle isn't easy. The bar wasn't set high, it was set by one of the most beloved co-op games of all time. And for now, Left 4 Dead remains unbeaten. And for me personally, when it comes to Back 4 Blood, it feels like little brother trying to live up to big brother's expectations. And they just couldn't do it. And they tried to beat their chest and say that this was going to be Left 4 Dead 3, but that never happened. And for a lot of fans, that made them more disappointed, which sucks because I thought Back 4 Blood was a decent game. Not great, but I thought it was good. But when it comes to Back 4 Blood, that was the exact reason for the downfall. But like I said before, hopefully you guys enjoy. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for future notifications. And thank you guys so much for all the support recently. You guys have been awesome. I'm trying to get a bunch of ideas out there. So if you guys have your own ideas, let me know below. But other than that, I will see you guys next time. Peace.